Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. So, the establishment is waging a war on anybody anti establishment. And that's not just Donald Trump, but it's also his attorneys and any journalists associated with them. But before we get started, how about you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below? It helps with the algorithm. Let's get started. Federal authorities search Rudy Giuliani's New York apartment, his Upper West Side apartment, as part of a criminal probe into his work in Ukraine, according to multiple news reports. The investigators confiscated Rudy Giuliani's electronic devices as part of a search warrant, according to the New York Times, which cited sources. Authorities are investigating whether Giuliani lobbied the Trump administration in 2019 illegally on behalf of Ukrainian officials and businessmen. At the same time, those Ukrainian officials allegedly helped Giuliani search for dirt on Trump's political rivals, including now President Biden. The United States Attorney's Office in Manhattan and the FBI have for months sought to secure a search warrant for Giuliani's phones. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York has declined to comment on the apartment search. So what's the only thing that's changed in the past few months, guys? Well, Joe Biden's now president, and he's appointed leadership in the FBI, and now the FBI is attacking his political opposition. The FBI is attacking those who are against the establishment. And that should make you concerned. This is the United States of America. We're supposed to have a peaceful transfer of power. And it doesn't only go one way. It goes both ways. You saw this with Nixon and the pardon he received, I believe, in the 60s. Because we as a nation needed to just move on. But what is Joe Biden doing? Joe Biden is attacking Trump and anybody associated with him. Imagine if Trump actually made good on his promise of prosecuting Hillary Clinton for having those illegal email servers. Imagine if he actually did that. You thought the country was polarized, but then when you have a sitting president attacking the former candidate for office, well, that would be a problem in any country, but particularly the United States of America, because we are one of the few countries in the world that legitimately has a peaceful transfer of power. This isn't Russia or Venezuela or any one of these quote unquote democratic communist regimes, right? Where people get elected. You can even throw Russia into the mix there. But they actually end up getting poisoned or something bananas like that, or they get imprisoned. This is the USA. This is what Democrats and squishy Republicans voted for. They voted for essentially communism at this point. From Jesse Waters, this was something really well said. It's a little over a minute long, but it's actually a really good little rant that he has. Let's give it a listen.
National treasure. Up. Don't disagree. I speak for everyone on the show when I say this. The guy took on the mob. He took on crime, Al-Qaeda, counselor to the president. And now Democratic prosecutors want to lock up a 76-year-old icon for a lobbying technicality, Juan, because he advised the president that he should fire a rotten ambassador. You'd have to register to lobby for that. Hunter Biden advised his dad to fire a prosecutor. Did he register? Where's the raid on Hunter's house? I bet you find some nasty stuff on that raid. And Juan, did Rudy Giuliani steal any money? Did he hurt anybody? Did he engage in treason? No, none of that happened. This is something he was talking to the federal prosecutors for months about. And they say, we'll give you what you want, but we're not turning over private communications between Rudy and the president. That's attorney-client privilege, and that's sacred. Everybody should respect that. So what the prosecutors do, they just raided the guy's house. You're not disturbed by the pattern that 2 Trump lawyers have their homes raided? The campaign manager has his home raided, another confidant has his home raided. You're not disturbed by that pattern? The fact that Democrat prosecutors are waging political warfare for the benefit of the Democratic Party just to purge Trump because he challenged the system. I mean, that should scare everybody, Juan. This is a thin predicate, and everybody knows it.
And he brings up a good point. Where's Hunter Biden's investigation? If Hunter Biden was on the take from Ukrainian oligarchs, essentially, and then he asked daddy to have a Ukrainian prosecutor fired, no different than when Rudy Giuliani said, hey, this ambassador to Ukraine is causing issues within the country. Maybe we should get rid of this Obama appointed official and put in a Trump appointed official. Rudy Giuliani received no money from anybody in Ukraine, whereas Hunter Biden was receiving millions of dollars from people in Ukraine. Do you see a difference? You can't lobby for nothing. But if you're making money and then you're asking politicians in the United States to do favors for those people who are paying you millions of dollars, guess what? You are now lobbying. But if you're receiving no favor, if you're receiving nothing of monetary value, then how can you be lobbying? Don't really understand the line of thinking here. Jumping over to Mediaite, feds seeking communications between Giuliani and ex-Fox contributor John Solomon, Fox reports on air. An ex-Fox News contributor is tied up in the criminal investigation into Rudy Giuliani. Let me mute the computer real quick, that way it doesn't ding again. Giuliani's apartment was searched and his devices seized as part of a federal criminal investigation into the possible violation of U.S. lobbying laws and his dealing with Ukraine. And apparently the feds are looking for the former mayor's communication with individuals including John Solomon, a writer who parlayed dubious pro-Trump reporting on the Russia investigation into a contributorship at Fox News. The Wall Street Journal cited Giuliani's attorney, Robert Costello, who said the feds were seeking communication between Giuliani and Solomon. Mr. Costello said authorities arrived at Mr. Giuliani's apartment at 6 a.m. and seized his electronic devices, but not all of them, and I'll tell you here in a second. Mr. Costello said the search warrant describes the investigation as a probe into the possible violation of foreign lobbying rules. Mr. Costello said the warrant sought communications between Mr. Giuliani and individuals including John Solomon, a columnist who was corresponding with Mr. Giuliani about his effort to push for investigations of Joe Biden in Ukraine. Mr. Solomon didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The Fox News anchor John Roberts reported that detail on air. The warrant sought communications between Rudy Giuliani and individuals including John Solomon, who of course is a well-known columnist who was in communication with Rudy Giuliani about efforts to push for investigations of Joe Biden in Ukraine. Roberts did not note that Solomon was employed by Fox News as a contributor until November of 2020. So, what's important about this? Well, they're not only attacking the peaceful transfer of power, they're now attacking the First Amendment protections of the press. I thought Joe Biden was a moderate. No, he is a radical who was installed into the government and essentially activated. At this point, it's the only way to describe what's happening because everything he's doing is antithetical to being a moderate. He wants to take away your guns. He wants the government to father your children. And now he's attacking the freedom of press. How many violations of our constitutional rights has the Biden administration already committed? They're passing laws that benefit one group of people based on the color of their skin versus another. That's a violation of what? The 14th Amendment? They're now violating the First Amendment. They want to violate the Second Amendment. They're violating the Fourth Amendment by acting on illegal search warrants. It's getting bananas. From Forbes, feds searched Giuliani's Tonsing properties as part of Ukraine investigation. Federal investigators searched Rudy Giuliani's Manhattan apartment on Wednesday and later searched the home of attorney Victoria Tonsing as part of a probe into whether Giuliani acted on behalf of Ukrainian oligarchs to illegally lobby the Trump administration, according to multiple reports. The execution of a search warrant would be the most serious step taken in the investigation so far. To win court approval of it, investigators have to convince a judge that they were likely to turn up evidence of a crime. Giuliani has been under investigation for his role in the 2019 ousting of U.S. Ambassador Ukraine Mari Yovanovitch, and Giuliani has openly said he was instrumental in convincing former President Donald Trump to remove her. but investigators believe he may have committed a crime in doing so by working with Ukraine oligarchs who wanted Yovanovitch out for their own gain. Giuliani said she was ousted for many reasons and claimed she worked to block investigations into business dealings of Hunter Biden and the Biden family in Ukraine. If he was working to aid Ukrainian officials and did not disclose it to the Department of Justice, Giuliani would have committed a crime by violating the Foreign Agents Registration Act. Giuliani did not immediately respond to comment. So this is important. So when did this all occur? Joe Biden announces he is running for president in 2020. That was April 25th. And remember, he wasn't doing well. It didn't look like he was going to win. He was kind of the back of the pack until March 3rd. By that point, Donald Trump was already being impeached for the whole thing that was occurring in Ukraine. So why would Rudy Giuliani go and ask for information about somebody who was losing in the primaries? Wouldn't he go to like Russia and try to dig up information on Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders was winning? There were a lot of other candidates who were doing a lot better than Joe Biden. Yet when they want to look into possible corruption that had occurred involving Ukraine, Donald Trump gets railroaded with an impeachment. Rudy Giuliani has his office raided or his home raided. That's bananas. What does the establishment have to hide? That's the only question I can ask. What are they afraid of? Why are they so afraid of the truth? If there's nothing to hide, why are you going through such lengths to destroy anybody who's possibly uncovering the truth? Rudy Giuliani to file report on findings from Ukraine, Trump says. This is from December 8th, 2019. So 4 months before Joe Biden is winning the primaries as a Democrat, as the Democrat candidate for the presidential election. So 4 months before that, Rudy Giuliani had his findings. So that means he was investigating for a few months before that. Some say Rudy Giuliani began this investigation before Joe Biden even ran for president. I couldn't find an exact date as to when Rudy Giuliani claimed to have gone to Ukraine. So I don't want to basically give you false information. But one thing I can give you for certain is Rudy Giuliani came to his conclusions far before Joe Biden was the front runner. Explainer, what you need to know about the Rudy Giuliani investigation. The long-running federal investigation into Rudy Giuliani's dealings in Ukraine moved back into public view Wednesday when federal agents seized electronics devices from the former mayor's home and office. Giuliani's lawyer, Robert Costello, said the search warrants involved an allegation that Giuliani failed to register as a foreign agent. The Foreign Agents Registration Act, originally passed before World War II to expose Nazi propaganda, requires people to disclose to the Justice Department when they have been hired to lobby in the U.S. on behalf of foreign governments, figures, or political entities. Criminal prosecutions under the law were once rare, but there have been a number of high-profile cases in recent years, including during Special Counsel's Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian election interference. Trump's campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, was convicted of failing to register work he'd done for a political party in Ukraine. Trump's first national security advisor, Michael Flynn, admitted making false statements about work he'd done for Turkey. So I'm going to stop right here real quick. Michael Flynn was investigated under the Logan Act, and now Rudy Giuliani is being investigated under the Foreign Agents Registration Act. These obscure laws that have been around for nearly 100 years, and not a lot of people have been prosecuted for. Hunter Biden, there was emails where Hunter Biden said, we should do things a certain way. That way we don't have to register as foreign agents. So that way we don't have to register as lobbyists. This is bananas. In addition, Ahmad Zuberi, a political fundraiser who attracted attention for large donations to Trump inaugural committee, was sentenced in February to 12 years in prison for a violation of Foreign Agents Act and other crimes. In numerous interviews, Giuliani has said that his work in Ukraine was intended to benefit only one person, Trump. His goal he has said, was to investigate Ukrainian government to investigate Biden's son Hunter, who had served on the board of the Ukrainian gas company. However, at least some of Ukrainian characters dealing with Giuliani, as he tried to dig up dirt on the Bidens, have said they also wanted to help or wanted his help with matters related to the U.S. government. They included Ukraine's then prosecutor general Yuri Lutsenko. In interviews, Lutsenko has said he asked for Giuliani's help arranging a meeting with the U.S. Attorney General to discuss efforts to recover looted national assets. He also spoke with Giuliani about his clashes with the U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Mary Yovanovitch. The Trump administration later removed Yovanovitch from her post. What has Giuliani said? Costello, Giuliani's lawyer, castigated Wednesday's FBI raid as corrupt and said he can demonstrate that the former New York mayor did no work as a foreign agent. Giuliani previously told the Associated Press he never represented a foreign anything before the U.S. government. In the past, Giuliani has acknowledged that he's considered taking on some Ukrainian figures and the Ukrainian government as paying clients, including Lutsenko, but said he ultimately decided not to do so. That included deals that would have paid him hundreds of thousands of dollars, according to a New York Times report in 2019. I thought that would be too complicated, Giuliani told the newspaper at the time. I never received a penny. So, it's really hard to be a foreign agent for a different country if you're not paid by them. Now, if you're doing something that you believe to be correct, which happens to align with the interests of another country, well, how is that acting on behalf of another country? You have to find that causal link. Because Ukraine paid Giuliani, this is a hypothetical, because Ukraine paid Giuliani, Giuliani encouraged Trump to fire a U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. That would be a causal link because that transfer of money motivated Giuliani to do something illegal. But Giuliani believing something to be right after having conversation with Ukrainian politicians, thinking that she was a corrupt ambassador or thinking that she was not acting in the best interest of the United States or Ukraine, receiving nothing of monetary value, then convinces Donald Trump to fire a ambassador to the country of Ukraine. There is no causal link other than words, other than just conversations or his gut instinct, his feelings. But feelings have no value. You can't work for a country because of your feelings. This isn't the Cold War anymore. From the Johnson Grassley report on Hunter Biden. I'm going to talk about Hunter Biden real quick, guys. The records acquired by the committee show that Hunter Biden and his family were involved in a vast financial network that connected them to foreign nationals and foreign government across the globe. Hunter Biden and Archer, in particular, formed a significant, consistent financial relationship with the corrupt oligarch Mykola Zlochevsky. During their time working for Burisma, and their firms made millions of dollars from that association while Joe Biden was vice president and the public face of the Obama administration's Ukraine policy. Rosemont Seneca Thornton, an investment firm co-founded by Hunter Biden, received $3.5 million in a wire transfer from Elena Bechorina, who allegedly received illegal construction contracts from her husband, a former mayor of Moscow. Moreover, Archer's apparent receipt of money for a car from Kenegz Rekishev of Kazakhstan while Vice President Biden was in Kiev is especially concerning in light of the timing. And finally, Biden and Archer's work with Chinese nationals connected to the communist regime illustrate the deep financial connection that accelerated while his father was vice president and continued after he left office. Biden and Archer found willing partners in Chinese nationals connected to the communist regime. Their work in China began at least in 2009 with the creation of Rosemont Seneca Partners with Heinz Secretary of State John Kerry's stepson. Then, several years later, Biden and Archer formed BHR with Bohai Capital and received their business license approval in China shortly after Biden visited China with his father, Vice President Biden. Hunter Biden's connections and financial associations appeared to have accelerated significantly after he associated himself with Yi Jianming, who had deep connections with the communist regime and PLA. However, that didn't seem to have any impact on Hunter Biden, who made millions from the relationship. Indeed, Hunter Biden and his family, to include James and Sarah Biden, associated with other Chinese nationals such as Gong Wendong. In one case, the three of them went on a $100,000 global spending spree after Gong Wendong and Hunter Biden opened a joint account. In addition, Hunter Biden received millions of dollars over a period of years from Gong Wendong's companies. According to the records according to the records acquired by the committees. Many of these transactions involved potential criminal financial activity. So you can see Joe Biden is soft on Ukraine. He is relatively soft on Russia. He's allowing the completion of, the Sputnik pipeline. And he's really wishy-washy on what's going on between Russia and Ukraine. His son has business dealings all over the world with questionable associates, and his son's not being investigated by the FARA. So this is concerning. If Joe Biden was competent, if Joe Biden was actually honest Joe from Scranton, Joe Biden would also have his son investigated. Why? Not because he thinks his son did nothing wrong, but being the smartest person he's ever met, Joe Biden would say, my son is competent, my son did nothing wrong, and to prove he did nothing wrong, the FBI is going to investigate him to ensure he did nothing wrong, because I believe that the smartest man I've ever met did nothing wrong. But he's not doing that, guys. Hunter Biden got $83,000 per month for Ukraine's ceremonial gig. All told, the Ukrainian company paid at least $3.4 million to Rosemont Senecal Bohai LLC, a company headed by Hunter Biden. Between April 2014 and November 2015, Biden and Archer each received monthly payments of $83,333 for consulting services. And what happened while they were consulting for Burisma Holdings? Well, the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma Holdings was fired due to pressure put upon the Ukrainian government by Joe Biden. If you want to receive $1 billion, you need to fire that prosecutor. Giuliani says FBI agents declined to take Hunter Biden's hard drives. So this is important. If Rudy Giuliani is being investigated for the Foreign Agent Registration Act, and he has evidence that somebody else is actually violating the law, and the FBI's scope of the subpoena was to take any and all electronic devices, and they refused to take the ones that said Hunter Biden's name, that means this is a political hit job and not exactly an investigation for the truth. Hunter Biden's hard drives fall within the scope of the subpoena. The subpoena required them to take all electronics, but they decided to leave that behind. Giuliani said that 7 FBI agents showed up early Wednesday morning with a warrant for electronics. He said that when he asked them if they wanted to take Hunter Biden's hard drives, they declined. Hunter Biden hard drives fall within the scope of the subpoena. The subpoena required them to take all electronics, but they decided to leave that behind. They were also completely content to rely on my word that these were Hunter Biden's hard drives, the former mayor told conservative commentary Tucker Carlson during an interview on Fox News Channel. Giuliani described the warrant as completely illegal, saying that the only way authorities can obtain a search warrant is if they can demonstrate that the individual would destroy or abscond with the evidence. Well, I've had it for 2 years and I haven't destroyed it. And they also got it from the iCloud, he said, adding that the warrant was unjustified, unlawful, and unconstitutional. Giuliani said that he has never ever represented a foreign national. The search warrant is purportedly based on one single failure to file for representing a Ukrainian national or official that I never represented. He said Giuliani stated that he never represented a Ukrainian national or official before the United States government. I've declined it several times. I've had contracts in countries like Ukraine. In the contract is a clause that says I will not engage or lobbying or foreign representation. I do it because I felt it would be too compromising, he said. So in his contracts and any dealings he has overseas, he says, hey, look, I'm not going to lobby or provide you foreign representation. That's not what I do. If I help you with dealings within the United States or something involving the United States government, I'm not going to basically represent on behalf of your government. I'm representing by you, the person. And it's really telling when the FBI refuses to take Hunter Biden's laptop, because why? They would have to go into it. And if they find things like child pornography, if they find things like illicit drug use within the United States of America, if they find him committing any crimes, whether wire fraud, tax evasion, violating the FARA, well, then they're going to be put in that awkward position where they're obligated to arrest Hunter Biden. They would be obligated to investigate possibly the big guy, which their sources say that the big guy is Joe Biden. And what are you supposed to do if the president of the United States is on the take from Russia, China, and Ukraine? What are you supposed to do then, guys? I don't know. Put us in a very sticky situation. So that's going to be it for now, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I'll see you all later. Have a good one. Bye.